Have you ever noticed that in today's world, people only recognize true value when it's gone? It's almost a universal paradox of human behavior. While you are present, they take you for granted. When you step away, your absence becomes deafening. The strange thing is, most people do not realize this pattern until it's too late. They confuse comfort with certainty, mistaking your presence as something permanent. And then when you finally choose to walk away, regret becomes the shadow that follows them. Here's the first uncomfortable truth. Modern culture is built on replaceability. Social media, dating apps, even professional networks have created an illusion that people are endlessly interchangeable. Lose one, swipe for another. Yet, the irony is clear when everything feels replaceable. What stands out most is the rare presence that cannot be substituted. That's when regret cuts the deepest. Here's the second paradox. Our society praises independence on the surface. Yet beneath that, most people cannot survive without constant validation. They crave attachment, but call it love. They cling to control, but label it care. They search for affirmation instead of building inner strength. The Stoics would argue that heartbreak today feels unbearable, not because of the loss itself, but because dependence has become normalized. When you rely too heavily on another person to feel whole, their absence feels like death. But when you cultivate independence, you become magnetic. You stop chasing, and others cannot help but chase you. And here's the third paradox, perhaps. The most striking. Many believe the best revenge after being left behind is to prove the other person wrong through success, wealth, or loud displays of happiness. But Stoicism teaches us that the real power lies elsewhere. True strength is not found in trying to impress or punish others. It is found in mastering yourself so completely and becoming so disciplined and unshakably grounded that their regret is inevitable. You don't need to force it. You don't need to announce it. Your growth makes their loss undeniable. That is what this journey is about. It's not about manipulation. It's not about playing games. It's about transformation. It's about becoming the kind of person whose worth cannot be ignored, someone whose presence is felt even in absence. When you live by these Stoic principles, regret follows naturally, not because you aimed for it, but because people inevitably realize what they've lost when faced with your strength. And this is where StoicCraft comes in. Our channel exists to cut through the noise of modern life, to bring the timeless clarity of Stoic philosophy into today's chaotic world. Stoicism was never about abstract theory. It was about surviving hardship, mastering the mind, and living with such purpose that your life becomes impossible to dismiss. Whether you're struggling with heartbreak, betrayal, or even just the quiet disappointment of being underestimated, the Stoics offer a way forward. A way not just to endure, but to rise. Think of Marcus Aurelius carrying the weight of an empire, yet still journaling each night about his flaws, his duties, his need for discipline. Think of Epictetus, born a slave, yet teaching that freedom is found not in circumstances, but in control over the self. Think of Seneca, warning us against wasting time as if we had endless supplies of it. These voices remind us that resilience, dignity, and inner peace are not luxuries. They are choices. Choices that transform you into someone unforgettable. So, ask yourself, do you want to be the one who clings, who begs, who becomes smaller after being left behind? Or do you want to be the one who grows so deeply in strength and presence that your absence itself speaks louder than words? Becoming that person requires more than wishful thinking. It requires training. It requires daily discipline. And it requires seeing life through the lens of Stoicism clear. Steady, unshaken. In this video, we will explore 7 Stoic ways to become the one they'll regret letting go. These are not tricks. They are principles tested by time, sharpened by hardship, and proven in lives much harsher than ours. But they remain as relevant today as they were 2,000 years ago, because human nature has not changed. People still crave what is rare. They still take consistency for granted. They still miss most what they cannot replace. What you will learn here is not how to punish those who left, but how to elevate yourself so that their regret is not your concern, it is their burden. You will learn how to respect yourself so fully that others cannot help but respect you too. You will discover the art of emotional discipline, the strength of independence, the clarity of living by principle, the magnetism of growth, the power of kindness with integrity, and the unforgettable presence of true attention. By the end, you will understand what the Stoics always knew, that the path to strength does not come from chasing validation, but from mastering yourself. And when you do that, regret takes care of itself, because the world cannot ignore someone who lives with discipline, dignity, and presence. So let's begin. Self-respect is the foundation of everything. Without it, love becomes dependence, kindness becomes manipulation, and ambition becomes self-betrayal. With it, every other Stoic principle stands tall. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts." Self-respect begins with those thoughts: what you permit, what you tolerate, and what you refuse to carry. In modern culture, self-respect is under attack daily. Social media trains us to measure worth in likes and comments. Dating apps encourage swiping as if people are products, reducing deep connection to disposable entertainment. Workplaces reward overextension while quietly burning people out. It's no wonder so many lose touch with their own value. The Stoics would shake their heads and remind us, no one can steal your dignity unless you hand it over. Self-respect means refusing to beg for attention, even when loneliness whispers that you should. It means walking away from situations that erode your dignity, even if it costs you temporary comfort. It is choosing silence over explaining yourself endlessly to people committed to misunderstanding you. This discipline is difficult in a culture where validation is instant and applause is addictive. Yet it is precisely this rarity that makes self-respect magnetic. Psychology backs this truth. Studies show that people with high self-respect are not only more attractive to others, but also more resilient in the face of rejection. They recover faster, set healthier boundaries, and command higher levels of trust. Why? Because people sense it. Self-respect radiates subtly but unmistakably. It says, "I know who I am. I don't need your approval to confirm it." Consider the paradox. The more you chase attention, the less valuable you seem. But the more you respect yourself, the more others lean in. We admire those who set standards and stick to them. Think about the person in your past who refused to compromise their dignity for approval. Aren't they the one who still stands out in memory? And when such a person walks away, the absence is sharp. That is the sting of regret. A common mistake people make after being left is to lower their standards in the hope of winning someone back. They text repeatedly, overshare, or compromise their own values. But what does this really communicate? Not love desperation, not strength weakness, and weakness never inspires regret. What inspires regret is strength. Regret arises when someone realizes they let go of a person who valued themselves too highly to beg. Self-respect also means refusing to play games. You don't need to fake indifference or pretend to be cold. True self-respect is quiet confidence. You can still love deeply, but you love in alignment with your values. You can still forgive, but you forgive without abandoning your standards. This is the balance the Stoics mastered: compassion without weakness, boundaries without bitterness. In today's relationships, this is revolutionary. Most people either collapse into people-pleasing or retreat into cynicism. The Stoic alternative is different, a calm, principled self-respect that doesn't demand validation but also doesn't tolerate disrespect. Imagine how magnetic this becomes. When someone who lives this way is lost, the regret is not just emotional, it is existential. Others realize they didn't just lose affection. They lost an anchor. Self-respect also impacts the way you carry yourself physically. Body language reflects inner belief. Slumped shoulders, hesitant tone, avoiding eye contact, these are signals of self-doubt. By contrast, grounded posture, steady tone, deliberate movement communicate authority without arrogance. The Stoics knew that the external mirrors the internal. Respect yourself in thought and it shows in action. Respect yourself in action and it reinforces your thoughts. Let's apply this to modern scenarios. In the workplace, self-respect means refusing to be exploited under the guise of team spirit. You do your work with excellence, but you do not sacrifice your mental health for applause. In friendships, it means not clinging to people who only call when they need something. In love, it means refusing to tolerate dishonesty or emotional neglect, even if walking away feels terrifying. None of this is easy. The temptation to compromise is constant. But every time you compromise your dignity for comfort, you weaken the foundation of your life. Every time you uphold it, you build strength that cannot be shaken. This is why those who live with self-respect are often remembered long after they leave. Their absence echoes because their presence was never desperate, it was dignified. Here's a practical exercise drawn from Stoic practice. Tonight, write down 3 moments where you tolerated less than you deserved. Ask yourself, what would a person with deep self-respect have done instead? This isn't about guilt, it's about clarity. Each reflection strengthens your awareness, and awareness, when repeated, becomes habit. Seneca warned against wasting life chasing what doesn't matter. Self-respect is the art of refusing to waste yourself. You are not infinite. Your time, energy, and presence are precious. When you live this truth, you stop scattering yourself in search of scraps. You start living as someone whose company is a privilege, not a right. And here's the irony. When you finally embody self-respect, the people who underestimated you begin to notice. They see what they lost, and regret follows. But by then, their regret is no longer your concern. Because self-respect also means this: you no longer live to make others regret. You live to honor your own dignity. Their regret is simply a byproduct of your strength. So the first Stoic way to become the one they'll regret letting go is simple in concept, difficult in practice, but life-changing in impact. Master the art of self-respect. Treat yourself as someone worthy of dignity, and the world will learn to do the same. Fail to do so, and you will forever be at the mercy of others' opinions. Respect yourself first, and regret will take care of itself. Epictetus, the Stoic slave-turned-teacher, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That sentence alone could transform modern life. Emotional discipline, the ability to master your reactions instead of being mastered by them, is one of the rarest and most respected qualities today. And it is exactly what causes people to regret losing you. Think about how common reactivity has become. Scroll through social media, and you'll see outrage amplified by algorithms. Every minor offense becomes a war. Every disagreement escalates into insult. Even in daily life, whether it's traffic, workplace tension, or family conflict, people are quick to snap, lash out, or sulk. Anger, envy, and anxiety have become contagious diseases of the mind. But emotional discipline is different. It's not about pretending you don't feel. The Stoics never denied emotion. They denied being controlled by it. Marcus Aurelius admitted in his meditations that he felt irritation, temptation, and despair. But he reminded himself daily to pause, to breathe, and to let reason lead. That pause is where discipline lives. Imagine two people in the same situation. A partner criticizes them harshly. One explodes, raising their voice, slamming doors, throwing insults. The other pauses, breathes, and calmly responds, "I hear what you're saying. Let's revisit this when emotions cool." Which one will be remembered with respect? Which one, when gone, will leave behind regret? It is not the one who raged. It is the one who mastered themselves. This is what makes emotional discipline magnetic. In relationships, emotions are contagious. If you radiate calm, you bring calm to others. If you spiral into rage or panic, others follow. When you become the calm in the storm, people crave your presence without even realizing it. And when you're gone, they feel the chaos of life more sharply. That is when regret strikes. The modern workplace illustrates this well. Leaders who panic under pressure create teams full of fear. Leaders who stay composed inspire loyalty and trust. The same applies in love and friendship. If you're the one who holds your ground when others collapse, people recognize your strength even if they only admit it after you're gone. Psychology reinforces what the Stoics knew. Research on emotional regulation shows that those who can manage anger, anxiety, and frustration not only experience better mental health, but are also more respected socially. Emotional control signals maturity. It demonstrates that you're not a slave to impulse. In a world full of noise, that steadiness is rare, and rarity breeds regret when lost. But make no mistake, emotional discipline doesn't mean suppression. Suppressing emotions only makes them stronger. The Stoics practiced acknowledgement without attachment. When anger arises, you don't deny it. You notice it. You name it. And then you choose whether to act on it. This is mindfulness in action, a principle both ancient philosophy and modern psychology affirm. Here's a practical method, the Stoic pause. When a strong emotion hits anger, jealousy, fear, pause for 3 breaths. Inhale slowly. Hold. Exhale. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If yes, act with reason. If no, let it go. That pause alone will save you from countless regrets, and ironically, it will create regrets in others who lose you, because they will miss that steadiness. Think about how relationships often unravel. One person becomes reactive jealousy, accusations, panic. The other matches that energy, escalating the spiral. Words are spoken that can't be taken back. Bridges burn. But when one partner embodies discipline, the cycle changes. They refuse to be dragged into the storm. They choose calm clarity. That kind of presence is unforgettable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Emotional discipline is simply applying that truth daily. When traffic jams, you breathe. When insulted, you refuse to stoop. When anxiety whispers at night, you detach and let reason anchor you. These small practices accumulate. They become your reputation, and reputation matters. Consider this. When someone reactive leaves your life, do you feel regret? Not really, you feel relief. But when someone steady departs, their absence is haunting. They were the calm you didn't realize you needed. Emotional discipline creates that impact. In practical terms. Here's an exercise. Journal your emotional triggers. Write down 3 situations from today where you felt anger, fear, or envy. Then, for each, ask, what judgment did I place on this? Was it in my control? This practice retrains the mind to separate the trigger from the response. Over time, discipline replaces reactivity. Another practice, reinterpret irritation as training. The Stoics often reframed obstacles as opportunities. Epictetus taught his students to treat insults as exercises in patience. Today, you can do the same. The rude coworker becomes practice for composure. The traffic jam becomes practice for patience. The canceled plan becomes practice for flexibility. Life itself becomes your emotional gym. Remember, people admire intelligence, talent, even charm, but those qualities fade in memory. What remains is how you handled pressure. Did you collapse or did you stay grounded? That memory shapes regret. So cultivate emotional discipline. Not because it will impress others. Not because it guarantees you'll never lose people. But because it guarantees this. If someone does lose you, they will feel it. They will realize they lost not just a partner or friend, but a rare source of calm in a reactive world. And that kind of absence, that kind of regret, lingers far longer than anger or attraction ever could. Seneca once wrote, "The man who needs riches least enjoys riches most." The same truth applies to relationships. The one who clings least is the one most deeply valued. Dependence feels like love in the moment, but in reality, it is a slow erosion of dignity. Independence, on the other hand, is strength disguised as solitude. And it is this strength that makes people regret losing you. Let's start with a reality check. Modern society conditions us to depend. Advertisements whisper that we are incomplete without certain products. Social media trains us to crave constant validation. Even cultural narratives about romance glorify the idea that you complete me. But here's the problem: if another person must complete you, then you are by definition incomplete without them. That is not love, it is dependency disguised as connection. The Stoics had no tolerance for such fragility. To them, independence was not selfishness, it was freedom. Epictetus, who was born into slavery, taught that the only true chains are those of the mind. He argued that no one could enslave you if your freedom came from within. That same principle applies to modern relationships. If your happiness is entirely dependent on someone else's presence, you've handed them the keys to your peace. When they leave, you collapse. But when your foundation is internal, their absence hurts, but it does not destroy. Think about the difference between solitude and loneliness. Loneliness is the ache of needing someone else to fill the silence. Solitude is the strength of being comfortable in that silence. Loneliness makes you shrink. Solitude makes you grow. Independence is choosing solitude until the right companionship adds value, not grasping at any companionship to escape loneliness. Consider the magnetism of someone who is truly independent. They have their own routines, passions, and sense of purpose. They enjoy your presence but do not require it to function. They can love fully without clinging. Such people are unforgettable because they are rare. And when they walk away, regret hits hard because dependence cannot replace independence. Here's a simple observation: the more you need someone, the less attractive you become. The more you can stand alone, the more others want to stand beside you. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. People instinctively respect those who do not beg for attachment. Why? Because independence signals value. It says, I am whole already. If you join me, it is by choice, not desperation. In practical terms, independence means building a life that is fulfilling whether or not someone else is in it. That means cultivating habits, friendships, and goals that exist outside of romantic attachment. It means learning to cook for yourself, travel alone, pursue hobbies, and maintain financial autonomy. Each of these is a form of strength. Each of these sends a message. I am not waiting to be saved. Let's connect this to modern relationships. Many break down not because of betrayal, but because of suffocation. One partner leans too heavily on the other for happiness, purpose, and stability. Over time, this imbalance becomes a burden. The dependent partner feels anxious. The independent one feels trapped. Eventually, it collapses. But when two independent people come together, they create partnership, not possession. And that kind of bond commands respect long after it ends. Independence also matters in career and friendship. At work, being independent means taking responsibility for your tasks without constant supervision. It means thinking critically rather than waiting to be told. In friendships, it means not resenting someone for being busy or unavailable because your life is already full. These patterns add up. They make you someone others regret losing, not because you catered to their every need, but because you never needed them to define you. Of course, independence can be misunderstood. Some equate it with cold detachment or arrogance. But Stoic independence is different. It is not about shutting people out. It is about ensuring that your sense of self does not crumble if they walk away. It is about having an internal compass strong enough to navigate storms without clinging desperately to others for direction. Here's an exercise. Ask yourself today, what areas of my life collapse without someone else's validation? If the answer is your mood, your self-esteem, or your daily purpose, then dependence has crept in. The remedy is not to abandon relationships, but to rebalance them. Start with small steps. Spend one day a week deliberately doing something alone. Learn a new skill without telling anyone. Journal about your goals that don't involve approval. Independence grows one small decision at a time. Remember this. People rarely regret losing someone who is clingy because relief overshadows regret. But they almost always regret losing someone independent. Why? Because independence cannot be faked. Once you experience the presence of someone who is grounded, self-sufficient, and confident in solitude, the absence feels like a void. That void cannot be filled easily. Seneca once warned against becoming a slave to pleasure, comfort, or other people's approval. He argued that the greatest wealth is the ability to live without needing much. Apply that wisdom to relationships. The greatest strength is the ability to love without needing to possess, to walk away without losing yourself, to stand alone without collapsing. And when you master that strength, something paradoxical happens. The very people who took you for granted begin to remember you not with relief, but with longing. They realize they let go of someone who didn't just want them, but didn't need them. That kind of presence is unforgettable. That kind of absence breeds regret. So build independence, not dependence. Stand tall in solitude, and when others walk away, let them. Because independence ensures this. They may leave your side, but they will never escape the shadow of your strength. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Simple, direct, uncompromising. In those few words lies the essence of Stoic living principles. Over popularity, integrity over approval. In a world where validation feels like currency, those who stand firm on principle are rare. And rarity, when lost, creates regret. Today, approval is a drug. Notifications buzz in our pockets like little hits of dopamine. People bend their values for likes, retweets, or short-lived applause. Politicians twist their words to gain popularity. Employees compromise ethics to climb the ladder. Even in personal relationships, many suppress their true selves to keep peace or to be accepted. But the Stoics would call this slavery, because when you live by approval, you hand your freedom over to the whims of others, living by principle. However, is liberation. It means you carry an inner compass stronger than public opinion. It means you can be steady when others are swayed by trends, rumors, or peer pressure. People may not always like you, but they will respect you. And when you are gone, they will feel the absence of your consistency. Because consistency is so rare in a world addicted to applause, consider the power of someone who refuses to compromise their values. Imagine a friend who always tells you the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. At times you might resist or even dislike their honesty, but when they're gone, you miss it. Why? Because deep down, people crave anchors, not mirrors. They want someone who points true north, not someone who simply reflects their mood. The Stoics lived this truth daily. Marcus Aurelius faced relentless scrutiny as emperor. He was criticized, undermined, and attacked. Yet his private journals reveal a man committed to principle. He reminded himself not to be consumed by praise or crushed by blame. Approval, he knew, was fleeting. Virtue, however, was eternal. In modern life, this principle is revolutionary. Take the workplace. Most employees align with whatever earns favor from bosses, even if it means betraying their conscience. But the ones remembered, the ones whose absence breeds regret, are those who stayed true. The manager who refused to lie to clients. The co-worker who defended fairness even when it was unpopular. These people may not always be liked, but they are always respected. Relationships, too, are poisoned when lived for approval. A partner who constantly changes themselves to avoid conflict eventually loses their own identity. But the partner who holds firm to values, honesty, respect, loyalty, becomes unforgettable. Their boundaries may frustrate others in the moment, but when they are gone, those very boundaries become the source of regret. Because losing someone principled means losing stability. Here's the paradox. Approval feels good, but fades fast. Principles are often uncomfortable, but leave a lasting mark. Think about people you admire from history. Do you admire them because they were popular, or because they stood by principle in the face of opposition? Martin Luther King, Jr., Socrates, Marcus Aurelius, they were not always approved of in their time, but their principles echo centuries later. Approval dies. Principles endure. Practically, how can you live by principle in a culture that rewards conformity? Start with clarity. Write down 5 values that are non-negotiable for you. Honesty, discipline, compassion, justice. Whatever they are, define them clearly. Then, before decisions big or small, ask, am I acting from principle or am I chasing approval? That single question will expose compromises you didn't realize you were making. Another, exercise. Practice small acts of truth. Refuse to laugh at a cruel joke, even if others do. Speak honestly when asked for your opinion, even if it risks disapproval. Decline to follow a trend that contradicts your values, even if it makes you stand out. These micro acts train your character. They build the muscle of integrity. The Stoics also warned against the trap of reputation. Seneca wrote that caring too much about what others think makes us restless. True peace comes from living according to reason, not applause. If you are praised, remain steady. If you are blamed, remain steady. Either way, your inner compass guides you. And people may not notice this at first, but when you leave, they realize the loss of someone whose word could be trusted. Think about relationships again. A person who lives for approval may be fun, agreeable, even charming, but they are also forgettable because they blend into whatever others want them to be. A principled person may be stubborn at times, even challenging, but they are unforgettable because they leave behind clarity. Losing them means losing a sense of direction, and that is when regret appears. Living by principle also protects you from manipulation. If you need approval, others can control you. They can withhold praise to make you doubt yourself. They can flatter you into betraying your values. But if you live by principle, no one controls you. You cannot be bribed with applause or blackmailed with criticism. That independence makes you both respected and, when absent, deeply missed. Ultimately, living by principle is about freedom. Freedom from trends, freedom from opinions, freedom from the exhausting chase of validation. And that freedom is magnetic. It creates presence. When you embody principle, you may not always be liked, but you will always be remembered. And when you're gone, people will regret letting go of someone who could not be swayed, someone whose word and actions were anchored in something higher than approval. So live by principles, not approval. In the end, people don't regret losing those who followed the crowd. They regret losing those who stood apart. Because while approval fades like smoke, principle leaves footprints. And those footprints are impossible to erase. Seneca once observed, "Difficulty strengthens the mind as labor does the body." To the Stoics, hardship was not a curse but a training ground. Growth mattered more than comfort, because comfort dulls the spirit, while struggle sharpens it. And in modern society, this principle has never been more urgent. We are drowning in convenience, yet starving for resilience. Think about how many comforts surround us. Food delivered to our doors in minutes. Entertainment streaming endlessly. With one click. Climate control at the push of a button. These conveniences are not wrong, but they condition us to avoid effort. And the more we avoid effort, the weaker we become. A person who seeks only comfort rarely becomes memorable. But a person who chooses growth, even when uncomfortable, becomes unforgettable. And when such a person is lost, regret inevitably follows. Growth is magnetic because it demonstrates courage. Comfort is passive. It requires nothing of you. Growth demands risk, effort, and vulnerability. Most people remain trapped in comfort zones because they fear failure. But the Stoics flipped the equation. To them, failure was not the enemy. Stagnation was. Epictetus taught that every hardship is an opportunity to train the soul. Modern psychology agrees growth requires discomfort. Muscles grow by being strained. Minds grow by being challenged. Now, imagine this applied to relationships. Many people cling to partners who provide comfort, even if that comfort leads to complacency. But the partners who inspire growth, the ones who challenge you, encourage you, and even hold you accountable, those are the ones you remember forever. When such a person leaves, regret is not mild, it is profound. Because you realize they didn't just give you affection, they gave you evolution. Choosing growth also builds resilience. Life will never be free of difficulty. Relationships end, jobs collapse, health falters, economies shift. Comfort tricks us into thinking we can avoid these realities. Growth prepares us to endure them. A person who trains their mind to face difficulty without collapse becomes rare, and rarity creates regret when absent. Let's bring this to the workplace. An employee who coasts, doing the bare minimum for the paycheck, may survive. But the employee who constantly learns, adapts, and grows becomes indispensable. If they leave, the organization feels it sharply. Why? Because growth compounds and comfort stagnates. The same principle applies in friendships. Comfortable friends may be easy to spend time with, but it is the friends who challenge us to rise higher that leave the deepest mark. So how do you cultivate growth over comfort? Begin with voluntary discomfort. The Stoics practiced this deliberately. Seneca would eat coarse bread, and wears simple clothes to remind himself he could endure hardship. Marcus Aurelius trained his mind each morning to expect obstacles so that when they came, he was not shocked. Today, you can replicate this by embracing small challenges. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Fast occasionally. Spend time without digital distractions. These micro struggles strengthen your capacity for bigger ones. Another exercise. Identify one area of life where you've grown complacent. Maybe it's physical health, emotional resilience, or intellectual curiosity. Then commit to one uncomfortable action daily in that area. Read a challenging book. Start a difficult workout. Have the hard conversation you've avoided. Each act of chosen discomfort is a seed of future strength. Growth also requires reframing failure. Most people fear failure because they equate it with shame. But Stoicism reframes failure as feedback. Epictetus reminded his students that setbacks reveal where we need training. Modern psychology calls this a growth mindset. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" ask, "What can I learn?" This shift transforms obstacles into opportunities. Consider personal relationships again. Imagine someone who always challenges you to grow, whether by encouraging your ambitions, questioning your excuses, or modeling resilience. Their presence may not always feel comfortable, but it is transformative. If they leave, the comfort they provided may fade, but the growth they inspired endures. And it is precisely that memory of growth that fuels regret. Contrast this with someone who always provides ease, but never growth. Their presence is pleasant, but their absence is easily replaced. Why? Because comfort is everywhere. Growth is rare. And we always regret losing what is rare. Choosing growth also changes how you handle loss itself. A person who values comfort above all collapses when comfort disappears. But a person who values growth adapts, transforms, and emerges stronger. Marcus Aurelius faced plague, war, and betrayal, yet wrote that each hardship was simply material for virtue. He didn't pray for easier circumstances. He trained for greater resilience. That mindset is why his writings still inspire today. So, ask yourself, are you living for comfort or for growth? Comfort may make life easier, but it will never make you unforgettable. Growth may hurt in the short term, but it carves strength into your character. And strength is always remembered. If you want to become the one they regret letting go, don't seek to be the most comfortable presence. Seek to be the most growth-inspiring presence. Because when you're gone, comfort can be found elsewhere, but growth leaves a void no one else can fill. When people hear the word Stoicism, they often imagine cold detachment, an emotionless mask, a refusal to feel. But that is a distortion. True Stoicism does not remove kindness, it refines it. It does not strip away compassion, it strengthens it. The Stoic path produces the deepest form of kindness because it is rooted in integrity, not weakness. And that kind of kindness leaves a lasting impression. When absent, it creates regret. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." What he meant was this: integrity matters more than retaliation. To maintain your values in the face of cruelty is not softness, it is strength. It takes little effort to mirror bitterness, but it takes immense discipline to embody kindness without becoming naive. That balance, when mastered, becomes unforgettable. Think about modern culture. So much of it is transactional. People help others expecting something in return. Companies advertise kindness as branding, not sincerity. Even relationships can slip into scorekeeping. I did this for you, now you owe me. But kindness without integrity is manipulation. Kindness with integrity, however, is power. It says, I will act with fairness and compassion, not because it benefits me, but because it defines me. This is why leaders with integrity are remembered long after they leave. Consider workplaces. A boss who yells, exploits, and micromanages may achieve results in the short term, but when they leave, people feel relief, not regret. Contrast that with a leader who combined fairness with accountability, compassion with strength. They may have been demanding, but they were just. They cared, but they never compromised principle. When such a leader departs, the absence is felt deeply. Employees remember not just the work, but the humanity. The same applies in personal relationships. A partner who manipulates with affection to gain control may be exciting in the moment, but their absence leaves little more than scars. A partner who leads with integrity and kindness, however, creates memories of trust. They may not have been perfect, but they were consistent. Their presence brought safety, and safety is something people regret losing. Integrity means alignment between what you say and what you do. The Stoics held this as sacred. Epictetus warned his students, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. To lead with integrity means your actions validate your words. People don't have to guess who you are, because your behavior makes it obvious. That clarity is rare in a world where masks are common, and it is precisely that rarity that causes regret when it disappears. Kindness, too, takes on a different meaning in Stoicism. It isn't sentimental indulgence or people-pleasing. It's not about saying yes to everything or avoiding conflict. Stoic kindness is firm, steady, and principled. It means treating others with respect even when you disagree. It means offering compassion, but not at the expense of self-respect. It means refusing to mirror cruelty, but also refusing to tolerate injustice. That form of kindness isn't weak, it is disciplined. Think of people you've met who embodied this. Maybe it was a teacher who held you to high standards, but did so with genuine care. Maybe it was a friend who told you the truth you didn't want to hear, but needed. Maybe it was a partner who loved you fully, but never compromised their values for temporary peace. These people combine kindness with integrity, and that combination becomes unforgettable. When they are gone, regret follows, not because they made life easy, but because they made life better. Practically, how can you cultivate integrity and kindness in daily life? Start small. Align your words and actions consistently. If you promise something, deliver it. If you value honesty, practice it even in minor interactions. Each small act reinforces integrity. For kindness, practice intentional respect. Listen fully when someone speaks. Offer encouragement without expecting repayment. Step into someone's struggle not to rescue them, but to stand beside them. Another practice. Resist the temptation of revenge. When wronged, it's natural to want payback. But Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that to retaliate with cruelty is to let the enemy dictate your character. Instead, choose to rise above. This doesn't mean ignoring injustice. It means addressing it with clarity and principle, not bitterness. In this way, kindness becomes an act of strength, not submission. In relationships, integrity and kindness also protect you from regret of your own. Many people, after a breakup or falling out, replay moments where they acted in anger, where they lashed out, where they betrayed their values. That regret lingers. But when you choose integrity consistently, you can walk away with peace. You may still feel sadness, but you won't feel ashamed of how you carried yourself. And ironically, this peace magnifies the other person's regret, because your strength exposes their weakness. Kindness with integrity is also deeply attractive. People crave authenticity. They want to trust that what you show is who you are. In friendships, in love, and leadership, authenticity draws loyalty. And when it is gone, it leaves a hole that charm or manipulation cannot fill. Think of it this way. Beauty fades, charm wears thin, power shifts. But integrity and kindness, when combined, create a legacy. You may not be universally loved, but you will be deeply respected. And when you are absent, that respect transforms into regret. So lead with integrity and kindness. Be the one who doesn't compromise principles for popularity. Be the one who treats others with dignity, even when it isn't fashionable. Be the one who can walk away knowing you stayed true. Because in the end, people don't regret losing manipulators, charmers, or flatterers. They regret losing those who stood firm in principle while extending compassion. And that regret is not shallow, it lingers, because people always remember how you made them feel. Of all the qualities that make someone unforgettable, presence might be the most overlooked. We live in an age where attention is constantly scattered, half on the phone, half on the conversation, half on the 100 worries running in the background of our minds. True presence has become rare, and like anything rare, when it disappears, it creates regret. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, confine yourself to the present, not yesterday's regrets, not tomorrow's anxieties. The present, because the present moment is the only one you can truly live in, and the only one others can actually feel. You cannot love someone yesterday, and you cannot listen to them tomorrow. You can only give them your presence. Now, think about the last time you felt truly heard. Not just listened to, but deeply understood. Chances are that memory stands out sharply. Why? Because most people are too distracted to give their full attention. In relationships, people often complain, "You're here, but you're not really here." And they're right. Physical proximity is not presence. Presence is when your mind, body, and attention align in one place, one moment, with one person. The paradox is that presence costs nothing yet means everything. You don't need money, status, or beauty to be present. You need discipline, the discipline to silence distractions, to put down the phone, to quiet the inner chatter, and to give your full attention. That is the kind of presence the Stoics practiced in their reflections and writings. And when someone who offers that presence leaves, regret hits hard, because the void they leave behind cannot be filled by shallow substitutes. Presence also transforms conflict. Imagine two people arguing. One interrupts constantly, raising their voice, already planning their rebuttal. The other listens fully, absorbs the words, responds calmly. Even if disagreement remains, which one earns respect? Which one, when absent, will be missed? Presence in conflict creates safety. Safety builds trust, and trust is unforgettable. In leadership, presence distinguishes the forgettable from the legendary. A boss who multitasks during meetings makes employees feel invisible. A boss who sets aside distractions, looks you in the eye, and truly hears you builds loyalty that no paycheck can buy. When such a leader leaves, regret lingers not just for their decisions, but for the feeling they created. Presence also applies inward. Most people are absent from their own lives. They drift through routines on autopilot, missing the richness of experience. The Stoics insisted on presence with the self, noticing thoughts, choosing responses, aligning daily actions with values. Marcus Aurelius journaled nightly not because he had spare time, but because he wanted to be fully present with his inner world. That practice made him resilient, and that resilience made him unforgettable. Modern distractions make presence even harder. Smartphones, social media, endless entertainment, they all compete for attention. But each distraction weakens presence, scattering energy into 1,000 fragments. A person who can resist this and remain steady, attentive, grounded becomes magnetic. In friendships, they are the one everyone opens up to. In love, they are the one who makes you feel safe. And when they leave, regret is sharp because their presence cannot be replaced by noise. Here's a practical Stoic exercise. When with someone, give them the gift of silence. Not the silence of neglect, but the silence of listening. Resist the urge to plan your reply. Notice their words, tone, and even pauses. Let them feel the weight of your attention. This small act is rare today, and rarity always leaves an imprint. Another exercise, practice presence in solitude. Set aside 5 minutes a day to simply sit in silence, noticing your breath, your thoughts, your body. No phone, no distractions. Just awareness. Over time, this discipline strengthens your ability to be present with others. Because presence with others begins with presence within yourself. In relationships, presence builds intimacy more than grand gestures. Flowers and gifts may be appreciated, but what people remember most is how you made them feel in ordinary moments. Did you look at them when they spoke? Did you remember what mattered to them? Did you set aside distractions to truly share space? These are the seeds of lasting connection. When absent, they are the source of regret. Presence also means resilience. In chaos, life is full of storms, loss, stress, uncertainty. Most people get pulled away by fear or distraction. But the Stoic who remains present in hardship, calm, focused, grounded, becomes an anchor for others. That presence is not forgotten, and when it's gone, the regret is heavy. Because the world is full of noise, but rare is the person who brings silence, focus, and clarity. Ultimately, becoming unshakably present is about valuing the only thing you can truly give your attention. Money can be replaced. Words can be forgotten. But presence lingers. People rarely remember exactly what you said, but they always remember how you made them feel. And nothing makes people feel more valued than your full, undivided presence. So, be present. Be here. Be steady when others drift, attentive when others distract, calm when others panic. Because when you embody presence, you give a gift so rare that its absence will always be felt. And when they lose it, they will regret it, not because you demanded it, but because they finally realized what they could not replace. We've walked through 7 Stoic ways to transform yourself into someone unforgettable, someone whose absence is not just noticed, but deeply regretted. Let's recap. Self-respect makes you dignified. Emotional discipline makes you steady. Independence makes you magnetic. Principles make you unshakable. Growth makes you inspiring. Integrity with kindness makes you trustworthy. And presence makes you irreplaceable. These are not tricks. They're not games to make others chase you. They are timeless practices for becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to chase at all. Because here's the truth. You cannot control whether people stay or go. What you can control is who you become. And when you embody these Stoic principles, regret will follow naturally, not because you wanted it, but because people always regret losing what they cannot replace. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that the only life worth living is one rooted in virtue, not approval. Seneca warned that wasted time is the greatest loss. Epictetus taught that freedom lies in mastery of the self. These truths remain as urgent today as they were 2,000 years ago, and they converge on this. When you live by Stoic principles, you stop begging to be chosen. You become the choice people regret letting go. So here's the final reflection. Stop asking, how can I make them regret losing me? Start asking, how can I respect myself so fully, grow so deeply, and live so intentionally that regret takes care of itself? That is the Stoic path. That is your power. And now I want to hear from you. Which of these 7 principles speaks to you most right now? Is it self-respect, emotional discipline, independence, principles, growth, integrity, or presence? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every one, and your reflection may inspire someone else on their journey. If this message resonated, make sure to subscribe and explore the StoicCraft playlist waiting for you. Each video is designed to sharpen your mind, calm your heart, and remind you of your strength. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more people like you, steady, principled, and unforgettable.